This audiobook reveals the secret of abundance. Not the shallow glitter of possessions, but the radiant current that moves through galaxies, rivers, and the hidden chambers of your soul. What you are about to hear is not new, yet it will feel as though the universe itself is whispering directly to you. And if you stay until the end, you will never look at life the same again. Before we begin, if the words you hear today stir something within you, I invite you to gently press like, share a thoughtful comment about your journey, and subscribe so that you may return to this circle of light again and again. These teachings are not entertainment. They are living sparks of remembrance, and together, as we listen, we awaken. Introduction. Step with me now into a temple unseen by ordinary eyes. Its walls are not built of stone, but of frequency. Its floor is not made of marble, but of light. As you cross this threshold, you are no longer merely listening. You are entering a chamber where the ancient and the eternal converge, where forgotten laws stir like sleeping lions and rise to greet you. Abundance has always been near you. You have felt it in fleeting moments, in the laughter of children, in the hush of dawn when the sun spills gold across the horizon, in the way opportunities sometimes appear as if carved out of the invisible. Yet, most of your life, you have been told abundance is scarce, difficult, reserved for a chosen few. This is the first illusion you must release. Abundance is not earned, it is allowed. It flows not from striving, but from alignment, not from effort, but from resonance. Imagine now that above your head burns an eternal flame, a fire that has never gone out. This is the flame of Source, infinite, inexhaustible, and waiting for you to recognize it. Every ancient teaching has spoken of it in different names. The manna of heaven, the kingdom within, the prana of existence, the Christ light, the quantum field. Each points to the same truth. The universe is overflowing with supply, and you are woven into its current. As you walk deeper into this sacred hall of remembrance, notice the mirrors lining its passage. In each mirror, you glimpse a different reflection of yourself. The child who once dreamed without limits, the soul who came here to create, the being of light who remembers eternity. These mirrors whisper, you are more than a seeker, you are a creator, and abundance has always obeyed your word. Feel the weight of old stories falling from you now, stories of lack, stories of unworthiness, stories written by fear. Watch as they crumble into dust upon the temple floor. In their place, a new story begins to inscribe itself upon your heart. I am abundance. I am the flow. I am the open door through which the infinite expresses. You are not here by accident. You have been called to listen because a greater rhythm is ready to rise within you. You are here to remember what your soul has always known, that abundance is not outside you, but within you. And the moment you claim it, life rearranges itself to match your vibration. This audiobook is your map, your script, your key. If you remain until the final word, you will walk away with more than knowledge. You will walk away with a living transformation. Chapter 1. The secret of abundance begins not in the marketplace, not in banks, not in the applause of success, but in the unseen. You must first learn to see with different eyes, for abundance is not a pile of gold waiting in some distant vault. It is a living current, a river of spirit, flowing even now beneath your every step. Pause for a moment and imagine this river. Close your eyes, if you will, and sense it. A current of luminous water, clear as crystal, endlessly flowing. You have walked beside it all your life, yet only now do you realize it was never outside of you. It has always flowed within your own chest. Your heart is the spring, your soul the endless well, your breath the sound of its rippling. But here is the paradox. The world has trained you to look elsewhere. You have been taught to measure your worth by numbers in an account, by the weight of coins, by the approval of others. You have been conditioned to chase what was already yours, to strive for what could never truly satisfy. This is why abundance seems elusive, because you have been looking outward while the current sings inward. Abundance is not money, though money may flow through it. Abundance is not possessions, though possessions may gather around it. Abundance is a frequency. It is a state of recognition. It is when your soul harmonizes with the truth that supply is infinite, and that you, yes, you, are inseparably joined with that supply. Think of the sky. No one has ever looked upward and feared that the stars would run out. No one has worried that tomorrow there will be no sunrise, or that the ocean will suddenly lose its waves. Why then do we believe that love will run out, or that opportunities are scarce, or that wealth must be fought for like scraps at a crowded table? These fears are illusions, born of separation. When you awaken to unity, when you see that you and Source are not two, but one, then abundance is revealed as the very nature of existence. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who lived on the edge of poverty. Each day he walked to the river and filled his bucket, believing that if he worked harder, filled faster, or carried more, he would finally secure his future. One day, an elder watched him struggle and said, "Why do you carry water by the bucket when you could live beside the river?" The man frowned. He had never thought to move his home. He had spent his life in labor, never realizing the river was already his. So he built his dwelling on the riverbank, and from that day, thirst was no longer part of his life. This is the difference between those who strive for abundance and those who awaken to it. To strive is to carry buckets. To awaken is to live by the river. You do not need to fight, to force, to grasp. You need only to align. And what is alignment? It is a matter of consciousness. Alignment is when your thoughts echo the truth of plenty, when your inner dialogue sings of enough, when your imagination pictures life as it is in heaven, overflowing, radiant, whole. When you hold such pictures, you are not creating abundance, you are simply recognizing it. The universe always responds to recognition. Now, let me reveal something few are willing to say aloud. Lack is not real. Yes, you may see empty shelves, hear of recessions, feel bills pressing upon you. But lack is a shadow. It has no substance of its own. What you call lack is merely the absence of recognition, the blindfold that hides the river from your eyes. Remove the blindfold, and abundance rushes in, just as darkness flees at the lighting of a candle. "Consider the lilies of the field," said the teacher from Galilee. "They neither toil nor spin, yet even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed as one of these." Why? Because they live in perfect trust of the source that clothes them. They do not carry buckets, they bloom beside the river. If such is true for a flower, how much more for you, whose very breath is divine. But how do you practice this recognition here in the fabric of daily life? Let us make it simple. Each time you spend money, whisper within, "I am not losing, I am circulating." As the river flows out, it also flows back in. Each time you feel the pang of fear, place your hand upon your heart and say, "The spring within me never runs dry." Each time you see another prosper, instead of envy, bless them. "Your abundance reminds me of my own." In this way, you train your inner sight to live beside the river. A parable comes to mind from modern times. A young woman, working tirelessly in a city, believed she could only survive by holding on to every cent. She lived tight-fisted, fearing generosity would leave her destitute. One day she encountered a homeless man asking for food. For the first time, something in her heart whispered, "Give." She hesitated, then offered him the sandwich she had saved for lunch. That evening, as if by unseen design, she received a job offer she had been waiting months for, with pay far beyond her current wage. She realized then that she had not given away her supply. She had entered into the current of it. The moment she let it flow, it multiplied. This is abundance, circulation, not stagnation. When you hoard, you dam the river. When you give, you keep the river moving. When you recognize, you live by the river. And when you live by the river, thirst becomes impossible. Now, here is your sacred practice. Tonight, before sleep, sit in stillness. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a radiant river. Hear its waters rushing. Feel its cool mist upon your face. Then, in your mind's eye, step into it. Let the current wrap around your body. Let it flow through your chest. Let it fill you. Whisper aloud, "I live beside the river of abundance. I lack nothing. I overflow." Say it 3 times and then rest. As you drift to sleep, imagine the river flowing through your dreams, washing away fear, awakening your soul to the truth that you are supplied. The river has always been here. It will always be here. The question is not whether it flows, but whether you choose to dwell beside it. Chapter 2. There is a law older than time itself. Energy follows attention. What you choose to see grows. What you ignore withers. What you honor multiplies. This law is as certain as the rising of the sun, yet humanity has spent centuries inverting it, directing attention toward fear, scarcity, and struggle. And so, what should have been a garden overflowing became a desert of doubt. But here you stand, on the threshold of awakening. To understand abundance, you must reclaim your attention as though it were the most precious treasure in the cosmos, because it is. Attention is the brush with which you paint reality. It is the water that nourishes seeds. It is the spotlight that summons form out of the formless. And if your attention lingers upon lack, then lack appears. But when your attention dwells upon the eternal current of supply, then supply begins to arrange itself around you. Pause here and ask yourself, where has my attention lived most of my life? Has it wandered through the halls of worry? Has it camped upon the barren fields of not enough? Or has it walked, even briefly, in the gardens of gratitude, where every leaf whispers plenty? Be honest, for honesty is the doorway to transformation. There was once a farmer who spent his life staring at the fence around his land, always afraid his crops would not grow enough to feed his family. He checked the boundary each day, worried thieves might break in. He never looked at the soil. He never watered with joy. He never sang to his seeds, and so his crops remained thin, his fields pale. One year, a storm came and broke part of the fence. The farmer ran in panic, but what he found astonished him. Beyond the fence, wildflowers and fruit trees had grown in abundance, untouched by his worry, thriving in the open sun. It was then he understood it was not the fence that kept abundance away, but the blindness of his own attention. So too it is with you. The moment you lift your gaze from the fence of fear and fix it upon the infinite source within, you will discover abundance has been growing wild all along, waiting for your recognition. Do not mistake this for wishful thinking. It is law. The physicists of this age speak of quantum observation. The act of looking changes what is seen. The mystics of old spoke of the same truth in softer tongues. Where your heart rests, there your treasure shall be also. Whether clothed in science or scripture, the principle is one. Attention births form. Here is the deeper mystery. Abundance is not attracted to you because you want it. It is revealed to you because you see it. Desire without recognition is like standing in darkness, yearning for light, but refusing to strike a flame. Recognition is the spark. It is when you whisper, even in the midst of an empty room, I am supplied, I am overflowing. I live in a universe that cannot fail me. The moment you speak such words, not as hollow affirmations, but as living truth, you are lighting the flame, and the darkness of lack has no choice but to vanish. Let us take another story. A young man, struggling with debt, once came to a teacher of the unseen laws. He said, I repeat affirmations every day. I am rich, I am wealthy, I am abundant. But still, nothing changes. The teacher smiled and replied, When you speak these words, what do you feel? The young man admitted, I feel desperate. I feel like I am lying to myself. The teacher placed his hand upon the young man's chest and said, Then you are speaking from absence, not from recognition. Say instead, I recognize the supply that already flows. I recognize the breath in my lungs, the sun on my face, the small coins in my pocket. I recognize abundance here and now. Begin there, and it will multiply. The man obeyed. And within months, opportunities arrived unlooked for, his debt dissolved, and he began to live by the river rather than chasing it. The secret here is that recognition turns the wheel of the law. Gratitude is its fuel. Without recognition, abundance hides in plain sight. With recognition, it bursts into bloom. Think of it like music. The radio station is always broadcasting, but if your dial is tuned to static, you will swear no music exists. Yet the music was there all along, vibrant, alive, spilling through the air. The only shift required was tuning your receiver. Your consciousness is the receiver. Gratitude is the hand that turns the dial. When you give thanks, sincerely and repeatedly, you retune yourself to the frequency of abundance. Now, let us deepen this into practice. Take a single object near you right now, perhaps a glass of water, a pen, even the device upon which you listen. Close your eyes, place your attention upon it, and whisper, This too is abundance, this too is supply. Breathe slowly and let gratitude swell. It may seem small, but in that moment you are tuning your inner receiver. You are saying to the universe, I recognize. And the law is swift to respond to recognition. Here lies another hidden key. Abundance is shy before complaint, but bold before praise. When you complain, you close the curtain. When you praise, you throw open the windows. Life itself is eager to rush in when you bless it. Every master has known this, from the psalmist who declared, My cup runneth over, to the sages of the East who bowed in reverence before a bowl of rice, to the mystics who gave thanks even before their prayer was answered. They understood that recognition is not the end of abundance. It is the beginning. Let me give you a modern tale. A woman, weary from years of struggle, began each morning by listing her debts in her journal. She thought she was organizing her life, but she was rehearsing lack with every word. One day, by chance, she heard of a gratitude practice. Skeptical but desperate, she began writing not her debts, but 10 small things she was grateful for each morning. The taste of her coffee, the roof above her, the sound of birds. At first it felt trivial, but within weeks her mood changed, her energy lifted, and people around her noticed a glow. Soon after, she was offered a promotion she had not expected. Later, an inheritance arrived she had long forgotten. She wept with joy, realizing the moment she changed her attention, her life followed. So I say to you, guard your attention as you would guard sacred fire. Do not squander it on shadows. Do not waste it on illusions of lack. Place it upon the river, upon the flame, upon the truth that you are already supplied. Do this not once, but daily, as naturally as you breathe, and you will find the world reshaping itself in response. Now, let us seal this chapter with a sacred practice. Tonight, as you lie in bed, before sleep claims you, take 10 slow breaths. With each breath, whisper a recognition, I am grateful for the breath. I am grateful for my body. I am grateful for the roof above me. Do not seek grand things. Let the small become sacred. As you complete 10 recognitions, you will feel a warmth in your chest, a quiet assurance. That warmth is the frequency of abundance. Fall asleep in it, and you will wake surrounded by new opportunities, for the universe moves quickly to echo what you recognize. Attention is your true currency. Spend it wisely, and life will repay you in overflowing measure. Chapter 3. Abundance is not a destination you arrive at. It is a state you awaken to. The world has conditioned you to believe otherwise. You have been told, when I finally get the promotion, then I will feel secure. When I buy the house, then I will feel abundant. When the debts are paid, then I will finally be free. Yet, abundance does not wait at the end of a finish line. It begins where you stand. Look around you now. The air that enters your lungs does not charge a fee. The pulse of your heart beats without invoice. The earth spins, the stars blaze, the oceans rise and fall, all without asking you for effort. Existence itself is a gift, wrapped in infinite supply. The illusion of scarcity comes only when you forget to see the gift. Imagine walking into a grand banquet hall. The tables stretch farther than the eye can see, overflowing with fruits, breads, golden goblets, and delicacies beyond description. The hall is yours. But if you enter wearing a blindfold, you will stumble, hands outstretched, whispering, "Where is the food? Where is my portion?" The abundance never left the table. You merely could not see it. So it is with life. The banquet has already been laid before you. The universe is not stingy. It has never withheld. It has never decreed that some shall feast and others shall starve. What changes is not the supply, but the sight. To awaken to abundance is to take off the blindfold and behold the table. There is a story told of a miner in the 1800s. He dug tirelessly for years in the same shaft, chasing veins of gold. At last, weary and disillusioned, he abandoned his claim and sold his tools for pennies. The man who bought them picked up where he left off and struck a vast seam of gold just 3 feet beyond where the first miner had stopped. The lesson is not about luck, it is about sight. Many abandon abundance because they expect it to look a certain way, never realizing it is already closer than they think. You may say, "But what of my bills? What of the hunger I have known? What of the real hardships of life?" Yes, These are real to your senses, but they are not the whole truth. They are branches, not the root. The root is infinite supply. The hardship is a shadow, not the source. Even in your darkest hour, the banquet still exists, unseen, waiting for recognition. The mystics of old declared, "Seek first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you." What is the kingdom, if not the inner recognition of supply? When you align with it, the outer naturally follows. The fruit appears because the root is nourished. But hear me carefully. Abundance is not passivity. To awaken does not mean to sit idle and wait for coins to fall from the sky. Awakening is action, but it is action born from alignment, not desperation. The one who knows abundance acts boldly, freely, without fear. They give without clutching. They create without exhaustion. They walk into opportunities because they know supply is their inheritance. Action without alignment is struggle. Action with alignment is flow. Consider a river once more. The current is strong, moving always toward the ocean. If you paddle with the current, your journey feels effortless. If you paddle against it, you exhaust yourself and barely move. Many live paddling against life, thinking exhaustion is proof of worth. But the awakened one learns to turn their boat, to move with the current. Their effort multiplies because it is carried by the river. That river is abundance. Let me tell you of a woman who lived through war. Her village was reduced to ashes, her family scattered, yet each morning she found a single flower among the ruins and thanked it for blooming. People thought her mad, but in time her gratitude drew others to her. They began planting small gardens, then sharing food, then rebuilding homes. Years later, when asked how she survived, she said simply, "I looked at the flower, not the ashes. I saw life, not death." And so, life came. This is the essence of abundance. It grows wherever attention rests. Even in ruins, it hides in flowers. Even in loss, it whispers through breath. Even in despair, it waits as possibility. The blindfold is your belief in scarcity. Remove it, and the banquet shines again. Now, let us return to you. Ask yourself, where in my life am I still blindfolded? Is it money, relationships, creativity, health? Do I still walk into the banquet hall and cry, "Where is my portion?" When the table groans beneath plenty, take a moment, name the place, and then with quiet boldness whisper, "I see it now. I recognize the banquet. I live in supply." Recognition is not imagination alone. It is faith dressed as vision. Faith is not pretending. Faith is perceiving what is unseen until it becomes seen. It is walking through a desert while knowing an oasis lies ahead, and because you know, your steps lead you to water. Faith is the removal of the blindfold. But here is the deeper mystery. Abundance does not begin with more. It begins with enough. Enough breath, enough love, enough food for today. When you honor enough, more appears. When you despise enough, even plenty feels like nothing. The universe expands what you bless and withers what you curse. So if you say, "This little is not enough," then little will remain. But if you say, "Even this little is proof of abundance," then the little multiplies. There is a story of a boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish. In the hands of lack, it was not enough to feed even a family. But in the hands of recognition, it became a feast for thousands, with baskets left over. Whether you take it as history or metaphor, the principle is eternal. What is blessed multiplies. So too with your life. Bless what is in your hand, no matter how small. Bless the coin, the opportunity, the friend, the simple meal. Do not curse the seed for not being the forest. Do not despise the beginning for not being the harvest, for the seed is the promise, and when honored, it must unfold. Now, let us seal this teaching with a sacred practice. Tonight, write down 3 areas of your life where you feel lack. Beside each, write 1 recognition of abundance already present. If your finances feel scarce, write, "I have food today," and that is proof of supply. If your relationships feel thin, write, "There is one person who has shown me kindness," and that is proof of love. If your health feels fragile, write, "My breath sustains me," and that is proof of life. Speak these recognitions aloud. Let them echo in your room, and as you do, the blindfold begins to fall. Then, before sleep, whisper, "I sit at the banquet of life. I recognize my portion. I am supplied." Repeat until your heart believes. For the banquet is real, the table is full, and you have always had a seat. Chapter 4. Abundance is not about what you hold in your hands. It is about what you hold in your consciousness. For the hands are temporary. They open, they close, they carry for a while, and then release. But consciousness is eternal, and whatever it embraces becomes flesh, becomes form, becomes the reality you walk through. You must understand this. The outer world is not the cause, it is the mirror. Every coin you have ever touched, every opportunity you have ever seen, every door that opened or closed, all of it was a reflection of an inner state. The inner is seed, the outer is harvest. The inner is script, the outer is play. The inner is cause, the outer is echo. Until you grasp this, abundance will remain a puzzle, as though you are trying to rearrange reflections in a mirror rather than touching the face itself. Let me paint the picture. Imagine you stand before a mirror and you see your reflection frown. You long for the reflection to smile, so you reach forward, tugging at the glass, trying to lift its lips upward. Futile. Only when you smile inwardly does the reflection answer. So it is with life. You cannot demand the mirror of reality to change while remaining the same inside. Abundance begins not with grabbing, but with becoming. This is why the Masters spoke in parables. The kingdom is within you. As within, so without. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. These were not riddles, they were keys. And the key to abundance is simple. Become it inwardly, and it must appear outwardly. There was once a man who lived in poverty his whole life. His clothes were threadbare, his meals meager. Yet each night he closed his eyes and imagined himself sitting at a great table, clothed in robes, served by abundance. He felt it so deeply that his heart swelled with joy before sleep. Years passed. Slowly, opportunities found him. Work he loved appeared. Friendships blossomed. Wealth began to gather. One evening, as he sat in a fine home surrounded by loved ones, he realized, "I did not attract this. I became this." The world only reflected what I already was. This is the secret. You do not attract abundance like a magnet pulls iron. You awaken it like a lamp hidden under cloth, waiting to shine. But why then, you may ask, do so many struggle? Why do prayers for abundance often seem unanswered? It is because their prayers are woven with doubt. They speak, "I am abundant," while their heart whispers, "I am empty." They affirm plenty, but secretly believe in scarcity. They dress the mirror with words, but never shift the inner image. And the universe, faithful as ever, reflects the deeper belief. Here is the truth. Abundance answers not your words, but your state. It responds not to what you say you want, but to what you know yourself to be. The universe does not hear your wish. It hears your conviction. So the work is not to beg, not to chase, not to force. The work is to assume the state of abundance, now inwardly, even if the outer still looks barren, for the barren outer is only yesterday's echo. Today's assumption writes tomorrow's scene. Picture this: a seed in the soil. From above, the soil looks empty, barren. But beneath, the seed has split. Roots have begun to push. Life has stirred unseen. If you judged only the surface, you would say, nothing is happening. But the wise gardener knows better. So too with your consciousness. When you assume the state of abundance, even if no evidence yet appears, the roots are already breaking through. The unseen is moving. The law is at work. Let me share a story of a young artist. She dreamed of living from her creativity, yet her bank account told another tale. She decided one day to live as though it were already true. She walked differently. She spoke differently. She even set a table for two each evening, whispering, "I am celebrating abundance." Friends laughed at her play acting, but within a year, commissions began to pour in. Invitations appeared. She became what she had assumed, and one evening she sat at that table for two. Not alone, but with a partner who had entered her life through the very same current of supply. What had begun as a play of faith became flesh and form. So here is the practice. Live as if. Not as pretense, not as delusion, but as recognition. If you had abundance, how would you walk? Walk that way now. If you had plenty, how would you speak? Speak that way now. If you were supplied, how would you breathe? Breathe that way now. This is not trickery, it is law, for as within, so without. But hear this: living as if does not mean reckless spending or denial of reality. It means embodying the state inwardly, letting gratitude, peace, and certainty rise until the mirror must obey. Even in Scripture, the prophet declared, "Let the weak say, I am strong." Not because weakness is denied, but because strength is assumed, and assumption creates reality. So too let the poor say, I am abundant, not in denial, but in recognition of a deeper truth. Here lies a deeper parable. There was a man who planted two seeds in different pots. Into the first he whispered daily, "You will grow strong, you will bear fruit." Into the second he whispered, "You will never sprout, you are too small." Both seeds had equal potential. The first grew tall, green, vibrant. The second shriveled, stunted. Was it the soil? No. It was the state he assumed and impressed upon them. So it is with your life. Your world grows according to the state you continually impress upon it. So let me ask you gently, what state are you assuming right now? Are you assuming lack, clothed in worry, whispering, "What if I fail?" Or are you assuming abundance, clothed in peace, whispering, "The river flows through me now"? Tonight, you can change the script. Tonight, you can begin again. Now let us seal this chapter with a sacred practice. Before sleep, close your eyes. Imagine yourself in a mirror. See yourself radiant, calm, surrounded by abundance. Not tomorrow, not years away, but now. Step into that reflection. Feel it as real. Breathe it as real. Whisper 3 times, "I am abundance, I am abundance, I am abundance." Then rest, allowing the roots of that assumption to grow in the unseen. When you wake, carry the feeling into your steps, your speech, your gaze, for the mirror is faithful. It will show you what you already are. Abundance is not waiting. It is here, in the state you dare to assume. Chapter 5. There is a deeper secret to abundance, one often hidden in plain sight. Abundance is not about accumulation. It is about circulation. You see, life itself is movement. The stars spin in galaxies, the oceans rise and fall, the breath flows in and out, the heart beats and rests. Nothing in creation hoards, nothing clutches. Everything gives, everything receives, everything circulates. Only when humans forget this rhythm do they fall into fear, and fear breeds stagnation. Picture a river. When it flows, it remains fresh, alive, nourishing the land. But when it is dammed and hoarded, the water grows stagnant, foul, lifeless. The same is true of money, of love, of opportunities. When you let them circulate, they remain alive. When you hoard in fear, they decay. The great law is this: what you release returns multiplied. What you clutch shrivels in your hand. There was once a merchant who grew rich by trade, but as his wealth grew, so did his fear of losing it. He built vaults, locked his gold away, trusted no one. And strangely, though his vaults were full, he felt poorer with every passing year, for joy had left his life. Then came a famine. His neighbors starved. His fear grew greater still, until one day a child from the village knocked on his door and said, "Sir, if you share even a little, we will survive." Something within him broke open. He gave a loaf, then another, then more. Slowly, the village revived, and with it, his own spirit. Years later, as trade resumed, he found his wealth multiplied beyond measure, for he had become trusted and beloved. But more than coins, he had discovered the secret. To circulate is to live. Many misunderstand giving. They think it depletes. But true giving is never loss. It is participation in the current of life. You do not give to lose, you give to remain in the river. The mystics knew this. They spoke of sowing and reaping, of casting bread upon the waters, of generosity opening the windows of heaven. These were not moral teachings alone, they were metaphysical laws. For giving aligns you with the very rhythm of creation, and when aligned, the universe cannot help but supply. But notice, giving must be born of recognition, not desperation. If you give in fear, thinking, "Perhaps if I give, I will finally receive," you are still rooted in lack. But if you give in joy, thinking, "I am already supplied, and this is overflow," then the law responds with multiplication. Consider the story of a woman in a crowded city. She had only a few coins left. Fear gripped her, but something within whispered, "Bless another." She bought bread for a man on the corner, smiling as she handed it over. Hours later, a call came. A friend had arranged work for her, a job she had been waiting for. She laughed through tears, realizing the bread was not loss, it was seed. This is the deeper truth. Everything you release with joy is seed, and all seeds return harvest. Even love is abundance. If you withhold love, waiting for others to give first, you live in scarcity. But if you radiate love, not to bargain, but to overflow, you enter circulation, and love multiplies around you. Opportunities, too, are abundance. If you clutch them jealously, you shrink. But if you share, mentor, connect, you become a source, and sources never run dry. Do you see it now? Abundance is not a stagnant lake to guard, it is an endless river to join. The wealthiest soul is not the one with the largest vault, but the one who flows most freely. Yet some may say, "But I have so little, how can I give?" And here lies the paradox: the little is enough. The widow's mite, the loaf shared, the word of kindness, the smile freely offered, each is seed. It is not the size that matters, but the spirit in which it is given. So release the illusion that you must wait to be abundant before you circulate. Circulation is how you awaken abundance. Begin where you are, with what you have, and the law will meet you. Let us take a modern parable. A man once dreamed of starting a business, but he feared he lacked capital. For years he hesitated. One day he decided, "I will circulate with what I have." He began helping others, offering advice freely, building relationships, giving time, even without pay. Months later, one of those he helped invested in his dream, and his business blossomed. Looking back, he realized abundance did not wait for him to be ready. It was unlocked the moment he dared to circulate. So I ask you now, where in your life have you been hoarding? Not just money, but love, creativity, kindness, trust. Where have you dammed the river, believing you must preserve in order to survive? The truth is, your survival lies in release. For what you hold, tight stagnates, but what you circulate multiplies. The universe itself breathes this rhythm. Inhale, exhale, day, night, tides rising, tides falling. Even stars live and die, giving their elements back to seed new worlds. Everything circulates, only fear resists, only illusion clutches. Now, here is your sacred practice. Take something small this week and circulate it deliberately. If you have a coin, give it with joy. If you have a kind word, speak it with love. If you have an idea, share it freely. Do not measure its size, measure only your spirit. As you release, whisper, "This is seed. The river flows through me." Then watch. Watch how life responds, not always in the same form, but always multiplied. Tonight, before you sleep, place your hand on your chest and whisper, "I am circulation, I am flow. As I give, I receive. As I receive, I give. I live in the rhythm of abundance." Say it 3 times. Let it sink past the surface into your being. Then rest, knowing the river is already moving on your behalf. For the truth is this: you are not meant to be a reservoir. You are meant to be a river. Chapter 6. The greatest illusion humanity has ever believed is this: I am separate. Separate from others, separate from the universe, separate from Source. And from this illusion of separation arises the illusion of lack. For if you believe you are cut off from the great whole, you will always feel incomplete. You will always grasp, always chase, always hunger, thinking you must steal your portion from life's table. But the truth is far different. You are not separate. You are woven into the fabric of existence itself. You are a thread in the infinite tapestry, and the river of abundance does not flow to you. It flows through you. Think of the ocean. Every wave rises and falls, yet never once is it separate from the sea. You are a wave of consciousness rising, and the supply you seek is the ocean beneath you. When you forget this, you live in fear of crashing. When you remember, you realize the wave is never lost, for the sea cannot run dry. This truth is echoed in the teachings of sages across time. The Vedic mystics spoke of Brahman, the infinite reality in which all things live. The Hermetic philosophers taught, "The all is in all." The teacher of Galilee declared, "I and the Father are one." All point to the same secret: there is no separation. And if there is no separation, then there can be no lack. There was once a village built near a great mountain. The people believed they were poor, scraping the earth for scraps, unaware that deep within the mountain lay veins of gold and springs of pure water. One day a child wandered into a hidden cave and discovered the treasure. She returned to the village and said, "The wealth was never outside us. We have been living on it all along." At first, they laughed at her. But slowly, as she showed them the springs and the shining veins, they realized the truth. They had been rich the whole time. They simply did not know. So it is with you. The wealth is within, waiting for recognition. The mountain is your own soul. The springs are your own spirit. The veins of gold are your own consciousness. But here is the paradox. Though you are never separate, you must awaken to this truth by choice. The universe will not force itself upon you. It whispers, it waits, it invites. But you must open your eyes. You must say with conviction, "I am not cut off, I am one with the source." And in that recognition, the illusion of lack dissolves like mist in the morning sun. Many people, without realizing it, live like beggars at a feast. They sit at the edge of a banquet table, bowls empty, while the table groans with food. Why? Because their eyes are fixed on what is missing rather than what is present. They whisper, "I lack, I need, I want." And so the feast remains unseen, untouched, but the moment they lift their eyes and declare, "The table is mine, the feast is already set," their hunger ends, not because food suddenly appeared, but because their sight changed. Think now of electricity. It fills the atmosphere around you, yet without connection, the bulb remains dark. You may think the bulb lacks light, but the truth is, the current was always present. The switch is simply recognition. So too with abundance. The current is always here, flowing through the field of life. The switch is your awareness, your faith, your assumption. Let me tell you of a man who once lived in despair. He believed the universe had abandoned him. Each day he muttered, "Why am I so unlucky? Why do others have and I do not?" His words became walls, sealing him in darkness. One day an elder said to him, "Do you not see the sun shines on you the same as on the wealthy? Do you not see the breath fills you the same as the powerful? Begin with this. Each time you breathe, say, 'I am not cut off. The source flows through me.'" At first the man scoffed, but desperation led him to try. Each morning he breathed and whispered. Slowly he began to feel different. He noticed opportunities where once he saw none. He began to give small acts of kindness, and kindness returned. In time, his life transformed. When asked what changed, he said, "The river was always there. I only learned to stop damming it." This is the key. Abundance is never absent. It is only blocked by the illusion of separation. But you may ask, if this is true, why do some starve while others overflow? The answer lies not in cruelty of the universe, but in consciousness and collective agreement. Humanity has, for centuries, agreed upon lack. Cultures have enshrined scarcity in their stories, their economies, their religions. These agreements shape reality, just as an actor follows a script. But any script can be rewritten, any illusion can be dissolved, and it begins with individuals, with you, daring to break the agreement and declare, "I live in supply, I am one with the source. I lack nothing. The power of one awakened soul is greater than the weight of 1,000 illusions. When you awaken, you ripple outward. Your recognition becomes a light, and others see by it. Just as one candle can ignite 1,000, your awakening to abundance can awaken a generation. Now, let us bring this teaching into practice. For knowledge without embodiment is like a seed left unplanted. Here is your sacred practice. Today, as you move through your world, pause 3 times to whisper, I am not separate. When you breathe, say it. When you eat, say it. When you hold a coin, say it. Do not say it as a ritual of repetition, but as recognition. Feel the truth, the air, the food, the money, the love. All of it is the same source flowing through you. The wave and the ocean are one. And tonight, before you sleep, place your hand upon your heart and whisper, the current flows, the source is here. I am one with abundance. Repeat until you feel peace, until the illusion of separation dissolves, until you drift into sleep, knowing you are carried by the same sea that carries the stars. For the truth is eternal. You have never been cut off. You have never lacked. You have only forgotten. And now you remember. Chapter 7. Abundance is not a destination you must travel to. It is a frequency you must tune into. The air around you carries countless radio signals at this very moment. Some play songs of sorrow, some of joy, some of news, some of laughter. Yet you do not hear them all at once. You hear only what you are tuned to. If your dial rests on static, you will insist there is nothing but noise. But the music was always there, waiting for recognition. So it is with abundance. Life hums with infinite frequencies. There is always a channel of scarcity broadcasting fear, lack, limitation. And there is always a channel of supply broadcasting harmony, wealth, overflow. The choice is not whether the channels exist, but which you will tune to. Every thought is a hand on the dial. Every feeling is a signal that aligns you. Every word spoken is an act of tuning. If you speak, I never have enough, you are tuning to scarcity. If you speak, I am surrounded by supply, you are tuning to abundance, and reality, ever faithful, echoes the station you have chosen. This is not superstition. It is law. The law of vibration, the law of resonance, the law of assumption. Whatever you dwell upon, you harmonize with. Whatever you harmonize with, you embody. Whatever you embody, you experience. There was once a man who complained daily, I am cursed with bad luck. And indeed, misfortune seemed to chase him. He lost jobs, missed opportunities, and found betrayal at every turn. One day, a teacher asked him, why do you repeat this curse upon yourself? The man laughed bitterly. Because it is true. The teacher shook his head and said, no, it is true, because you say it. You are not cursed, you are tuned. Slowly, the man began to change his words. At first, it felt like a lie. But day after day, he chose to say, good fortune finds me. And little by little, it did. Doors opened, friends appeared, a new life unfolded. The curse had never been real. The dial had simply been set to the wrong station. And now I ask you, which station has your life been tuned to? Scarcity or abundance? Fear or trust? Do not answer quickly. Listen inward, for your outer life is the broadcast of your inner dial. Imagine for a moment that you are an instrument. When you are out of tune, even the most beautiful song sounds harsh. But when you are tuned rightly, Music flows effortlessly. Life is the same. When you are tuned to scarcity, even blessings appear insufficient. When you are tuned to abundance, even small gifts overflow with meaning. The difference is not in the gift, it is in the frequency. This is why gratitude is so powerful. Gratitude is not mere politeness, it is the act of tuning your soul. When you give thanks, you shift the dial from static to song. You harmonize with the channel of supply. You say to the universe, I recognize the music already playing. And the universe, like a musician hearing an echo, responds with greater melody. Let us look at another story. A woman, struggling in her career, spent years saying, "No one sees my value." Each rejection confirmed her belief until it seemed carved in stone. One evening, weary, she decided to shift her practice. She began saying daily, "The right people see my value. I am recognized. I am supplied." At first, nothing seemed to change. But within months, a company sought her out, offering a position beyond what she imagined. When she asked her new employer why they had chosen her, they said, "We saw your energy. You carried yourself as if you already belonged here." She wept, realizing the station had always been available. She had only needed to tune. Here lies the great truth. Your inner frequency is your wealth. It is not coins, not property, not possessions. These are reflections. The true treasure is the vibration you dwell in. Hold the vibration of lack, and lack multiplies. Hold the vibration of supply, and supply flows. Now, let us move deeper. How do you shift your frequency when the world screams scarcity? How do you tune to abundance when bills arrive, when rejection stings, when uncertainty clouds the horizon? The answer is practice. Just as a musician practices scales, you must practice tuning. You cannot tune a violin once and expect it to remain forever in harmony. Life pulls at your strings, fear tightens or loosens them. Daily, you must return to the act of tuning. Begin small. Each morning, before the world fills your ears, whisper, "I tune to abundance. I live in supply." Feel the words. Do not just say them. Imagine your body as an instrument vibrating with harmony. Let the sound of your voice be the first act of tuning. Then, throughout the day, when fear arises, do not wrestle with it. Do not fight the static. Simply retune. Whisper inwardly, "I return to the channel of supply." Imagine turning the dial, feel it click into place, and rest in the song. This practice transforms. It is simple but powerful. For what you practice, you become, and what you become, you live. Let me tell you of an artist who understood this truth. He lived in a small room selling paintings for pennies, yet he walked daily through the city as if every gallery already displayed his work. He tuned to recognition. He tuned to abundance. And though years passed, the day came when galleries did hang his art, when critics did write his name, when wealth did flow. People said, "He is lucky." But he knew luck was only tuning. He had lived in the frequency long before the evidence appeared. This is the secret. Live in the frequency before the form. Tune before the music plays. Walk as if, speak as if, feel as if. For the universe does not create abundance anew. It only amplifies the station you are already on. Now, let us anchor this with a sacred practice. Tonight, before bed, sit in silence. Imagine yourself as a great radio receiver. See before you two dials, one labeled scarcity, one labeled abundance. With your inner hand, turn the dial toward abundance. As you do, hear music swell, music of joy, laughter, wealth, and love. See your life glowing with light. Whisper aloud, I am tuned to supply. I am in harmony with abundance. Say it 3 times, then let the music carry you into sleep. And tomorrow, when you wake, begin the day with the same tuning. For your frequency is your fortune, and your fortune is already here. Chapter 8. There is a door within you that leads to abundance. It is not locked, though many believe it is. It does not require a key, though countless search outside for one. The door is imagination. And imagination is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the eternal and the temporal, the invisible current and the visible form. Everything you have ever touched, every coin, every building, every invention, every song, all of it began as imagination. A picture, a whisper, a dream in the invisible, called forth by one who dared to see before others could. And here lies the secret. Imagination is not fantasy. Imagination is creation in seed form. When you imagine abundance, you are not pretending, you are planting. Close your eyes and picture a garden. Within it are seeds invisible to the naked eye. Yet when the gardener tends them in faith, rain falls, sun warms, and shoots rise. So it is with your imagination. It may seem empty now, but when you plant the image of abundance in the soil of your mind, the law of life begins to tend it. Neville Goddard once said, "Imagination creates reality." The mystics knew this. The ancients whispered it in temples. Even the scientists now echo it. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined state and one physically experienced. The body responds to the picture held in the mind. The universe, in turn, responds to the vibration of that picture. There was once a man imprisoned in poverty. Each night, while others around him despaired, he lay in bed imagining himself free, wealthy, walking into homes of beauty, embraced by friends who honored him. He rehearsed it in his inner world so vividly that his heart swelled with joy. Years passed, and slowly life rearranged itself. Opportunities came, people were drawn, and one day he stood in the very home he had once imagined, realizing he had rehearsed this moment into being. This is why imagination is called a bridge. For when you dwell in it with conviction, the bridge becomes a highway, and life begins to travel across it into form. But imagination must be disciplined. Many live in the imagination of fear. They rehearse disasters, repeat images of failure, picture lack until it becomes flesh. This too is imagination, but turned against itself. The law does not discriminate. It creates what is pictured. So, if you imagine, "What if I fail?" the universe faithfully paints the canvas with failure. If you imagine, "What if I lack?" the universe paints the picture of lack. You must therefore become master of your inner world. Guard your imagination as a sacred temple. Do not allow it to be vandalized by fear or corrupted by doubt. Enter it daily with reverence, and there picture only what you wish to see made flesh. Imagine now, just for a moment, what would your life look like if abundance had already arrived? Where would you live? How would you walk? How would your mornings begin? What conversations would you have? Feel it, breathe it. Do not place it in the distance. Place it here, now, within. For the subconscious mind does not know distance. It knows only the picture held with feeling. Let me tell you of a young woman who longed to travel the world, but believed she could not afford it. Each night before sleep, She imagined herself walking cobblestone streets in Paris, smelling spices in Morocco, hearing music in Brazil. She felt the joy of it, as if it were real. Friends mocked her for dreaming. Yet within 2 years, unexpected opportunities unfolded. Scholarships, invitations, work abroad, until she found herself in the very places she had rehearsed. She laughed, realizing her imagination had been her passport all along. This is the law. As you imagine, so shall you live. But here lies the hidden key. Imagination must be paired with feeling. Words alone are weak, pictures alone are hollow. It is the emotion, the felt conviction, that gives them life. When you imagine wealth but feel fear, you plant doubt. When you imagine abundance and feel gratitude, you plant certainty. And certainty is the soil in which seeds flourish. Practice then, imagining with feeling. Let your heart swell. Let your body respond. Let your breath deepen. If you imagine holding money, feel its texture. If you imagine living in peace, feel the calm. If you imagine love, feel its warmth. Do not wait for the outer to give you the feeling. Give the feeling first, and the outer will mirror it. Even the ancients knew this. The psalmist wrote, "Meditate day and night, and you shall prosper." To meditate was not merely to think, but to feel, to dwell in the inner picture until it became more real than the outer. This is why prophets could declare abundance in famine, why mystics could sing songs of joy in prison. They lived by inner vision, and the outer world eventually conformed. So, how do you begin? Choose a single picture tonight. Do not overwhelm yourself with many. Choose one image of abundance that stirs you. A home, a relationship, a flow of money, a state of peace. Close your eyes, see it vividly. Place yourself inside it, not as observer, but as participant. Feel it as now. Whisper, "This is mine, this is me, this is now." Repeat until your body relaxes, until joy rises, until doubt fades. Then let go and sleep. Over time, this simple practice reshapes your life. For the subconscious is most impressionable in the moments before sleep, and whatever picture you feed it becomes a command. Feed it fear, and it produces nightmares. Feed it abundance, and it produces miracles. Now, let us ground this with a sacred practice. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, choose a moment you desire. Perhaps it is holding a letter of opportunity, walking into a new home, or embracing a loved one in joy. Picture it as if it is happening now. Do not beg for it. Assume it. Feel it. Rest in it. Whisper softly, "Imagination is creation. I accept this as real." Then drift into sleep, and when you wake, carry the feeling into your day. Walk as if, speak as if, not with pretense, but with recognition that the bridge is already built and you are already crossing. For the truth is this: imagination is the womb of abundance. All form is born here, and when you dare to see it inwardly, faithfully, joyfully, the world has no choice but to deliver it outwardly. Chapter 9. There is a hidden current beneath every act of creation: faith. Not blind belief, not fragile hope, but faith. The unshakable knowing that what is unseen is more real than what is seen. Faith is the invisible foundation of abundance, for without it, imagination remains fantasy and gratitude remains fleeting. With faith, the unseen becomes inevitable. Faith is not earned, it is chosen. It is not given from outside, it is awakened within. and when faith rises, abundance follows like a shadow. Think of the farmer who plants seeds. He does not wake each morning, dig them up, and ask, "Are you growing yet?" He waters them, trusts the soil, trusts the sun, trusts the law of life. That trust is faith, and because he holds it, the harvest comes. Without faith, the soil is doubted, the seed abandoned, the harvest forfeited. So too with you. Every desire you carry is a seed. Every picture you imagine, every word you speak, every feeling you nurture, these are seeds placed in the soil of consciousness. Faith is the act of leaving them there, watering them with recognition, and waiting in peace. Doubt is digging them up, checking, questioning, killing what might have been. There was once a woman who prayed daily for abundance. Yet each time she prayed, she rose in fear, wondering if her words were heard, questioning if anything would change. Years passed, and nothing seemed to move. One day, weary, she read these words, "Believe you have received, and it shall be yours." Something shifted. That night she prayed once, then rose with certainty. She acted as if it was already done. Days later, opportunities began to open. Within a year, her entire life transformed. Looking back, she said, "It was not the prayer that changed, it was the faith." This is the difference between wish and command. A wish says, "Maybe." Faith says, "It is so." The universe answers not your doubts, but your conviction. But how do you awaken faith when the outer world screams otherwise? How do you declare abundance when your wallet is thin, your table empty, your heart weary? The answer lies in shifting sight. Faith does not come from evidence. Faith produces evidence. Faith is seeing with inner eyes when outer eyes are blind. Imagine standing before barren soil. To the ordinary eye, it is nothing. But to the eye of faith, it is harvest waiting. Faith sees the oak within the acorn, the forest within the seed, the river within the spring. Faith does not deny what is, it declares what shall be. And in its declaration, the world reshapes itself. Let me share a story of a man broken by bankruptcy. His friends mocked him, his family doubted him, his future seemed ruined. Yet one night he sat quietly and whispered, "I will rise again. I see it. I know it." He repeated it daily, even as debt collectors knocked. He refused to let the outer define his inner. Within years, he not only repaid his debts, but built a greater fortune than before. When asked what sustained him, he said, "Faith. I knew even when no one else knew. That knowing carried me." Faith is the atmosphere in which abundance breathes. Without it, the river is blocked. With it, the river rushes freely. But hear me. Faith is not mere stubbornness. It is not denial. It is alignment. Faith says, "Because I am one with Source, because I live in supply, because the law is unchanging, it must be so." This is not arrogance. This is truth. The Scriptures spoke of it. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Notice, substance, evidence. Faith is not a vague feeling. It is tangible in the unseen. It is the invisible contract with life that says, "Though my eyes see emptiness, my heart knows fullness, and fullness will appear." Let us go deeper. Faith is not passive. Faith moves. The one who believes they are supplied walks differently, speaks differently, acts differently. They do not shrink in fear, for they know provision is certain. They do not beg at closed doors, for they know other doors are opening. They do not clutch, for they know circulation is safe. Faith produces action aligned with abundance. There was once a teacher who told his students, "Do not pray for rain, dig ditches." The students were confused. "Why dig ditches if the sky is dry?" The teacher replied, "Because faith prepares for what is coming. If you believe rain will fall, make room for it now." And so they dug. Days later, clouds gathered, rain fell, and the ditches overflowed. Those who mocked them stood thirsty. Those who acted in faith drank freely. This is your call. Dig your ditches. Prepare now as if abundance is already flowing. Do not wait to see before you believe. Believe, and then you will see. But some ask, "What if my faith falters? What if fear overwhelms me?" This too is natural. Faith is like a muscle. It grows with practice. Do not curse your weakness. Train it. Each small act of faith strengthens you. Begin with the small. Give thanks for a coin. Trust for a small opportunity. Imagine a little change. As you see the law respond, your faith expands. And soon, you will believe easily for what once seemed impossible. Remember, a mustard seed is small, yet it grows into a tree. So too with faith. Begin where you are, plant what you can. Trust the law to expand it. Now let us anchor this with a sacred practice. Tonight, write down one desire of your heart, something you long to manifest. Beneath it, write these words, "It is so. I believe I have received." Then close your eyes. Imagine it as done. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the joy as if it were present. Whisper aloud 3 times, "It is so. It is so. It is so." Then rest, refusing to question how or when. In the days to come, act as if it is unfolding. Prepare as if it is certain, and watch how the universe responds. For the truth is this: abundance is not withheld. It is not waiting for permission. It is waiting for faith. And the moment faith rises, the invisible becomes visible. The unseen becomes seen. The river breaks through. You are not asked to beg. You are asked to believe. Chapter 10. The essence of abundance is not merely in what flows to you, it is in what flows through you. To become a vessel of abundance is to step into the highest law of circulation. You are both receiver and giver, wellspring and river, cup and overflow. When you believe abundance is something you must capture and hoard, you shrink into fear. When you recognize abundance as something infinite moving through you, you relax into flow. And in that flow, all things multiply. Think of the Sunday. Each day it gives without measure, pouring light upon all, rich and poor, strong and weak, believer and skeptic alike. Yet in its giving, it never grows dim. It shines because shining is its nature. So too with you. When you awaken to abundance, you realize giving is not depletion, it is expression. It is your nature to overflow. But the world has taught otherwise. It has told you to guard, to clutch, to compete, to believe that for another to gain, you must lose. To think that giving weakens you, while taking strengthens you. These are lies born of separation. In truth, the opposite is so. The more you give, the more you prove your oneness with infinite supply, and the more the river returns to you. There was once a king with 2 sons. To test them, he gave each a portion of gold. The first son buried it in fear, guarding it in secrecy. The second son spent it freely on the people, building wells, feeding children, helping travelers. Years later, the king called them back. The first son returned with the same coin he had hidden. The second son returned with wealth beyond measure, for the people had blessed him, traded with him, and multiplied his gift. The king smiled and said, "Abundance belongs to the one who lets it flow." This parable is not about recklessness. It is about trust. When you act from fear, you shrink. When you act from faith, you expand. Even your breath teaches this law. Try to inhale and never exhale. Soon you suffocate. Try to exhale and never inhale. Soon you faint. Only in rhythm, in giving and receiving, does life continue. So too with money, with opportunities, with love. The more you cling, the less you live. The more you circulate, the more you breathe with the rhythm of the universe. Now pause and ask yourself, where in my life have I stopped the flow? Where have I clutched so tightly that circulation has ceased? Is it money? Is it affection? Is it trust? To dam the river is to live in fear. To open the river is to live in abundance. A modern tale illustrates this. A woman saved every cent, terrified of spending. Though she had enough, her life felt small, gray, lifeless. One day she decided to treat herself to a simple gift, a flower. She placed it in her home, and something stirred. Slowly, she allowed herself to give more, to friends, to causes, to small joys. As she did, her income increased, her friendships deepened, her health even improved. She laughed one evening, realizing it was not the flower that changed her life, but the flow. This is the paradox of abundance. It grows as you release it. Like a muscle, it strengthens through use. Like light, it multiplies when shared. But the mind will resist. It will whisper, "If I give, I will have less." This is the illusion of scarcity speaking. Remember, what you give returns multiplied, for the universe rushes to fill the open space. What you withhold stagnates, and stagnation is the true loss. This law is not bound to money alone. Give joy, and joy returns. Give love, and love expands. Give kindness, and kindness ripples. The measure is not in the size of the gift, but in the spirit of the giving. Consider the story of the teacher who sat by the temple, watching people bring their offerings. Many gave from wealth, large sums without sacrifice. Then came a widow who placed 2 coins, all she had. The teacher turned to his followers and said, "She has given more than all the others, for she gave from the depth of faith." This story has lived through centuries because it reveals the heart of abundance. It is not about the amount, but about the alignment. She gave as one who trusted the river, and so the river could not fail her. Now you may ask, "But if I give and nothing returns, what then?" Hear this: nothing ever leaves you. Every act of giving, whether of coin or kindness, plants seed in the invisible field. Some seeds sprout quickly, some take longer. But all must return harvest, for the law cannot be broken. The only thing that delays the harvest is doubt, for doubt is like uprooting the seed. But trust, even in waiting, ensures the field blooms. Faith in circulation is tested in silence. When you give and see no immediate return, will you panic, or will you rest, knowing the river flows in unseen ways? The wise know, silence is not absence, it is gestation. Let us take another parable. A young man once gave his time freely to help a struggling neighbor. For months, nothing seemed to return. His friends mocked him, "You waste your strength." But he smiled and said, "The river will repay me in its own way." Years later, when he was lost in hardship, it was that very neighbor, now prosperous, who opened doors for him, providing work and shelter. What he gave had circled back, greater than before. This is the nature of abundance. It cannot be hoarded, only cycled. Now let us turn inward. Imagine yourself as a chalice. When you cling to the drop within, your cup is never filled. But when you pour it out, the universe sees the empty space and rushes to fill it. Over and over, the cycle continues until you realize, I am not the cup, I am the spring that fills it. This realization changes everything. You stop fearing loss because you know replenishment is certain. You stop grasping because you know the river cannot run dry. You stop envying because you know the source flows uniquely through you as it does through all. Now, let us seal this chapter with a sacred practice. Today, choose one act of circulation. It may be giving money, offering help, speaking encouragement, or sharing creativity. Do it not as transaction, not expecting return, but as alignment with the river. As you give, whisper, I am flow, I am circulation, I cannot lack. Then, tonight, before sleep, place your hands open upon your chest and say, as I release, I receive. As I receive, I release. I am the river of abundance. Say it 3 times, then rest in the rhythm of breath, in, out, until you drift into sleep. For abundance is not in the holding, it is in the flow. And when you become flow, life itself flows toward you. Chapter 11. Abundance is not only a matter of wealth or material flow, it is a matter of identity. The deepest secret of all is this: you will only experience what you believe yourself to be. You cannot walk in the shoes of abundance while wearing the mask of lack. You cannot speak prosperity while identifying as poor within. Life does not give you what you beg for. It mirrors who you believe you are. This is why so many struggle. They strive outwardly, but inwardly they still whisper, I am small, I am unworthy, I am not enough. And the mirror, faithful as always, reflects their self-concept back to them. But hear this: abundance is not something you achieve, it is something you are. When you say, I am abundance, the world rearranges itself to match the state. Think of a seed again. Within the seed of an apple lies not only an apple, but an entire orchard. The seed does not strive to become, it already is. So too with you. The orchard of abundance is already within you, waiting for recognition. There was once a sculptor asked how he created such lifelike statues. He smiled and said, I do not create, I only remove what is not the figure. The form was always in the stone. This is the work of identity. You do not build abundance from scratch. You remove the lies that hide it, the lie of unworthiness, the lie of separation, the lie of limitation. When they fall away, the true figure, the abundant self, is revealed. So ask yourself, who am I when no story of lack binds me? Who am I without the mask of fear? If you dare to answer honestly, you will find abundance is not something to chase. It is something to remember. But let us go deeper. Identity is not shaped by outer possessions. It is shaped by inner assumption. If you assume yourself to be poor, even a sudden fortune will vanish, for the self-concept will sabotage it. If you assume yourself abundant, even small beginnings will grow into greatness, for the self-concept will multiply it. There was once a man who won a great sum of money in the lottery. Overnight, his circumstances changed, yet within years it was gone. Why? Because inwardly he still believed himself unworthy. still saw himself as poor. His inner identity consumed his outer wealth. The harvest rotted because the soil was never changed. And yet there was another man who began with nothing. He carried himself with dignity, spoke with confidence, believed himself destined for greatness. Slowly, opportunities arose. People trusted him. Doors opened, resources gathered. In time, he became wealthy, not by chasing, but by living from the state of abundance until the world conformed. This is why Neville Goddard taught, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. For assumption is identity, and identity is destiny. But you may ask, how do I change who I believe myself to be? The answer lies in repetition and embodiment. Each time you say, I am, you write upon the walls of your inner temple. Speak lack, and you carve poverty. Speak abundance, and you carve wealth. Do not take this lightly. Your words of identity are sacred. Begin now. Instead of saying, I am trying to be abundant, declare, I am abundance. Instead of saying, I am seeking wealth, declare, I am wealth. Do not place it in the future, claim it now, for identity always lives in the present tense. And pair the words with feeling. Do not speak mechanically. Speak with conviction. Feel the state. Embody it. Walk as if, breathe as if, dress as if, not in pretense but in recognition. There was once a young woman who longed for love. For years she said, I want someone to see me. And no one did. One day she shifted. She began saying, I am love, I am chosen, I am desired. She carried herself differently. She glowed. Within months, she met the partner she had dreamed of. Later she said, I did not wait for someone to choose me. I chose myself first, and life mirrored it. So too with abundance. Choose yourself as abundant now. Life has no choice but to echo. But beware of one subtle trap. Identity cannot be forced by effort alone. It must be accepted. You cannot trick the subconscious with hollow affirmations. You must allow yourself to rest in the truth. Acceptance is the soil in which identity roots deeply. This is why visualization, gratitude, and faith are tools, not ends in themselves. They help you feel the truth until it becomes natural. And when it becomes natural, identity shifts. And when identity shifts, life shifts. Imagine a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. The change is not cosmetic, it is total. Once transformed, the butterfly does not crawl again, even if it wanted to. So it is with you. Once you shift into the identity of abundance, you cannot return to lack. You may visit the memory of it, but you no longer live there. Let me share a modern parable. A man born into poverty decided one day to shift his self-concept. He began dressing with care, speaking with confidence, studying wealth. He told himself daily, I am prosperous. I am abundance. Slowly, his outer world began to change. Within years, he built businesses, created wealth, and inspired others. When asked the secret, he said, I stopped being poor the day I decided I was not. My bank account caught up later. This is the law. Identity first, evidence later. Now let us turn to you. Who do you say you are? Not with your lips, but with your heart. Listen, the answer will reveal the state you live in. And if it is lack, know this. You can choose again. You can write a new script. You can assume a new state. Tonight, let us anchor this with a sacred practice. Stand before a mirror. Look into your own eyes. Speak aloud, I am abundance. I am wealth. I am supplied. I am chosen. I am worthy. Speak slowly, deliberately, with conviction. Watch your reflection as if it is a stranger hearing these truths for the first time. Speak until you feel the resonance in your chest, until doubt softens, until something within whispers, "Yes, this is me." Then, before sleep, rest in the identity. Imagine yourself not seeking, but already being. Say softly, "I am," and let sleep carry you into the state. For the deepest secret is this: abundance is not outside you. Abundance is you. And when you awaken to this, you no longer chase, you simply express. Chapter 12. Abundance at its core is not measured by possessions or appearances. It is measured by peace. The wealthiest soul is not the one who holds the most coins, but the one who rests without fear, who walks without anxiety, who trusts that supply cannot fail. True abundance is freedom from the chains of worry. For what is money without peace? What is gold without joy? What is success if the heart is restless and the mind tormented by what if? The great paradox is that many chase abundance outwardly while carrying poverty inwardly. They may live in mansions, yet feel impoverished in spirit. They may hold wealth, yet lie awake in fear of losing it. And there are those who possess little outwardly, yet radiate abundance from within, walking as kings in simplicity, smiling as queens with empty hands, because their peace is unshakable. So let us make this clear. Abundance is not the sum of things. Abundance is the absence of fear. The mystics knew this. They said, "Be still and know." In stillness, they discovered that supply does not come from the world, it comes from Source. And Source cannot fail. This knowing gave them peace, and from that peace flowed all things. There was once a man who lived in constant anxiety. Though he had a steady income, he was haunted by the thought, "What if it is not enough? What if tomorrow I lose it all?" He grew ill from worry. One evening, he met an old monk who said, "Why do you torment yourself with the future? Is not today provided for? Did you not eat? Are you not clothed? Did not life bring you to this moment?" The man was silent. The monk smiled and said, "If life has carried you until today, why fear it will stop tomorrow? Rest. Life does not abandon its own." Something within the man shifted. He began to trust. Slowly his health returned, his anxiety faded, and strangely, more opportunities arrived. Later, he said, "When I stopped fearing lack, abundance stopped hiding." This is the truth. Fear blinds you to abundance. Trust reveals it. Consider the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap, yet they are fed. Consider the lilies of the field. They do not toil, yet they bloom in splendor. Nature lives in peace because it trusts the rhythm of Source. Only humanity forgets, choosing worry instead of trust, illusion instead of truth. But peace is not passive. Peace is active trust. It is choosing each day to rest in the knowing that the river flows, even when your eyes see dry stones. Peace says, "Though evidence has not yet arrived, I am supplied. Though tomorrow is unknown, it is safe in the hands of the Eternal." This state of peace is magnetic. It draws supply as surely as the sun draws morning. There was once a fisherman who worried constantly about the catch. Some days the sea was generous, others it seemed barren. He lived in torment, never knowing what tomorrow held. One day, an elder told him, "The sea has never failed to return. Some days it hides, some days it reveals, but always it provides." Trust the sea, and it will trust you. The fisherman began to release his anxiety. He sailed in peace, worked with joy, and strangely, his nets grew fuller, his health stronger. He discovered what had always been true: the sea did not change. He did. So too with you. The universe is not cruel. The river is not stingy. The banquet is not empty. Only fear blinds your eyes. When peace takes its seat, abundance is revealed. But how do you cultivate such peace in a world that clamors with fear, that shouts of scarcity, that repeats, "not enough" at every turn? You return to the inner sanctuary. You cultivate stillness. You step away from the noise and listen to the quiet pulse of Source within. Close your eyes now and imagine a temple deep within your heart. Its walls shine with light, its air hums with silence, its center burns with a flame that has never gone out. This flame is peace. This flame is abundance. Each time you retreat into this temple, you remember, nothing can touch the eternal flame. No debt, no fear, no loss can dim it. From this flame flows your true supply. Peace is a practice. At first, the mind resists. It runs to worry, to doubt, to calculation. Do not fight it. Gently return it again and again to the flame. Each time you choose peace, you strengthen it, and soon it becomes your natural state. Let me tell you of a woman who faced financial ruin. She tried every plan, every scheme, yet the pressure mounted. At last, exhausted, she sat in silence. She placed her hand on her heart and whispered, "I am supplied. I am safe. I am at peace." She repeated this daily. Strangely, her fear began to lift. Her mind cleared, new ideas came, unexpected opportunities arrived. In time, not only was her crisis resolved, but she rose to a level of abundance she had never known. She said later, "It was peace that brought me wealth. Not struggle, not worry. Peace. This is the paradox. Peace is prosperity. Anxiety blocks the flow. Peace opens it. Now, let us anchor this with a sacred practice. Each morning, before you touch your phone, before you read the news, sit in silence for 5 minutes. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe slowly. Whisper with each inhale, "I am supplied." Whisper with each exhale, "I release fear." Let your breath become your rhythm. If your mind wanders, gently return it. Do this for 5 minutes, and you will feel the flame of peace grow brighter. And tonight, before you sleep, repeat again, "I am supplied, I am safe, I rest in peace." Say it until your body softens, until sleep carries you. For peace is not the absence of challenges, it is the presence of trust. And trust is the foundation of abundance. When you rest in peace, abundance cannot help but reveal itself. Chapter 13. There is a truth older than language itself. What you focus upon expands. The universe is like a mirror, not passive but alive, reflecting the direction of your gaze. When you fixate upon lack, lack multiplies. When you dwell upon abundance, abundance unfolds. Not because the world has changed, but because your perception has shifted. And perception is the brush that paints your reality. Think of the sunrise. If you stand with your back to the east, you may swear the world is dark. But turn, and you behold the horizon blazing with light. The sun was always there. You had only to face it. So too with abundance. Many live with their backs to the sunrise, staring into shadows of fear, whispering, "There is not enough." They believe they describe reality, but in truth they prescribe it. for their focus becomes their fate. Yet if they turned, even slightly, they would see that light was rising all along. There was once a farmer whose field lay barren. He stared at the cracked earth and said daily, "Nothing grows here. This land is cursed." His neighbors shook their heads, for across the fence the same soil flourished with crops. The difference was not in the land, but in the gaze. His neighbor watered, tilled, and planted in faith, believing in the soil's richness. The first farmer reaped dust, the second reaped harvest. The earth answered the vision given to it. So too your life. The same soil of existence lies before all, but what grows depends on the seeds of focus and the water of attention. But here lies the subtle danger. Most do not realize where their focus rests. They say, "I want abundance," while secretly rehearsing fears of debt. They say, "I am blessed," while meditating on complaints. They spend more time imagining lack than living abundance, and the mirror, ever faithful, reflects what is truly magnified within. Focus is not casual, it is worship. Whatever you give your repeated attention to becomes your altar, and upon that altar, life lays its gifts. The mystics of old declared, "Set your mind on things above." The sages taught, "Where attention goes, energy flows." Even science now confirms the act of observation alters reality. All point to the same law. Focus is creative. Let us draw nearer with a parable. A young apprentice once came to a master and said, "I long for prosperity, but no matter what I do, I remain poor." The master handed him a magnifying glass and told him to walk into the garden. Hours later, the apprentice returned, holding a leaf with a hole burned clean through. "How did this happen?" asked the master. The apprentice replied, "The sun's light, through this lens, became fire." The master smiled. So too your focus. Scattered, it warms nothing. Concentrated, it creates fire. Choose carefully where you place it. This is why your inner dialogue matters. Each thought is a ray of light. Scattered upon worry, they weaken. Concentrated upon abundance, they ignite. But you may ask, how do I change my focus when circumstances scream lack? The answer is discipline of perception. You do not deny what is before you, but you refuse to magnify it. You acknowledge the circumstance, then shift your gaze to the deeper truth, that you are supplied, that the river flows, that abundance is present. It is like walking through a storm. If you stare only at the clouds, you despair. But if you look for the horizon, you see where the sun breaks through. The clouds are temporary, the sun eternal. There was once a woman drowning in debt. Each day she focused on the bills, whispering, "I am ruined." Her fear grew until she was paralyzed. One evening, desperate, she decided to shift her practice. Each time fear rose, she whispered instead, "I am provided for. I am supplied. The river flows." At first it felt hollow, but she persisted. Slowly, her mind calmed. She saw opportunities she had missed. She acted boldly, accepted help, released shame. Within years, not only was her debt resolved, but she built a life of surplus. Later, she said, "The bills did not change first, my focus did, and life followed my gaze." This is the secret. Focus is not reaction, focus is creation. But let us go deeper. Focus is not only about what you avoid, it is about what you amplify. Gratitude is focus upon blessings. Faith is focus upon the unseen. Vision is focus upon possibility. All are acts of creative perception. Imagine now your life as a garden. Each thought is a seed. If you focus on weeds, weeds multiply. If you water flowers, flowers bloom. The soil does not choose. It yields to whatever you tend. So ask yourself, which seeds am I watering daily? Pause for honesty. If your days are filled with complaint, you are watering scarcity. If they are filled with gratitude, you are watering abundance. If they are filled with fear, you are watering lack. If they are filled with vision, you are watering prosperity. The soil will not argue. It will simply yield what is sown. Now let us anchor this truth with a sacred practice. Tomorrow, carry with you a small stone or token. Each time you catch your mind drifting to lack, touch the stone and whisper, "Shift." Then immediately name one thing abundant in your life now: your breath, your health, your friendships, your opportunities. Feel gratitude swell. Each time you do this, you train your focus. Slowly, your gaze turns from shadows to sunrise. And tonight, before you sleep, reflect on 3 moments of abundance you experienced today, no matter how small. A meal, a smile, a breath, a chance. Write them or whisper them. As you do, you water the garden of focus, and the harvest, unseen at first, will soon rise. For the eternal law is this: what you magnify multiplies, and when you choose to magnify abundance, life cannot help but yield abundance in return. Chapter 14. There is a law so simple, yet so easily forgotten. Abundance follows joy. Many seek wealth in sweat alone, believing struggle is sacred, believing exhaustion is proof of worth. They wear hardship like a badge of honor, whispering, "If I suffer enough, perhaps I will be rewarded." Yet life was never designed as punishment. The river of abundance does not flow from misery, it flows from joy. Joy is the frequency of alignment. It is the song of the soul when it remembers its oneness with Source. And when you are joyful, abundance is drawn to you as naturally as bees to blossoms, as effortlessly as rivers to the sea. Think for a moment of children at play. They do not toil for joy, they radiate it. They create worlds from sticks and stones, kingdoms from clouds, treasure from seashells. In their laughter, time dissolves, and they become channels of pure abundance. Opportunities flow to them, love surrounds them, creativity bursts forth. They have no thought of scarcity, for they trust implicitly in supply. And this trust, this joy, is what draws abundance. There was once a man who despised his work. Each morning he rose heavy, each evening he returned weary, and though his wages were steady, his life remained empty. One day, he decided to change his approach. He began to do one small thing daily that brought him joy: singing while he walked, painting in the evenings, laughing with his children. Slowly, the heaviness lifted. Soon others noticed his light. Opportunities opened. He found himself invited into new ventures that matched his joy, and his income grew beyond what his old toil ever produced. Later, he said, "Abundance did not arrive when I worked harder. It arrived when I learned to rejoice." This is the hidden key. Abundance is not a grind, it is a flow, and joy is the opening through which the flow enters. Even Scripture whispers this truth: "The joy of the Lord is your strength." Not the sorrow, not the worry, but the joy. The mystics knew it. They sang, they danced, they celebrated. For joy lifts the frequency of the soul into harmony with the infinite. But here lies the challenge. The world trains you to postpone joy. It says, "Be happy when you succeed. Celebrate when you have enough. Rejoice when all problems are solved. And so joy is delayed, withheld, suspended in the air. Yet joy is not the result of abundance. Joy is the cause of it. Imagine planting seeds and saying, "I will water you when you bloom." Foolishness, the bloom never comes. Yet this is how many live, withholding joy until conditions change, not realizing it is joy that waters the seed. So let me ask you, when was the last time you allowed yourself to feel joy without condition? Not because the bank account was full, not because success arrived, not because every problem was solved, but simply because you are alive, because breath fills your lungs, because the sun still rises? If you can learn to rejoice now, in the midst of imperfection, you will open the gates of abundance. For joy is not naive. Joy is prophetic. It sees the harvest before the seed sprouts. It sings of supply before evidence appears. There was once a woman who endured much loss. Her friends pitied her, expecting her to crumble. Yet she chose daily to sing. Her song was not denial, it was declaration. She sang because she trusted life would rise again, and slowly it did. Opportunities returned, relationships blossomed, abundance flowed. Later she said, "My song did not wait for blessing, my song summoned it." This is the sacred art of joy. It calls abundance into being. But you may ask, how do I feel joy when my circumstances seem bleak? Begin small. Joy need not be fireworks, it can be a spark. A moment of gratitude, a smile, a breath of fresh air, a memory of laughter. Cultivate these sparks, and joy grows. Do not despise small beginnings. Joy multiplies when honored. The more you choose to notice it, the more reasons life gives you to continue. Let us look at another parable. A poor man once picked up a coin from the street. Instead of dismissing it as small, he rejoiced, shouting, "Look at this gift!" Those who saw him laughed. Yet his joy was so radiant, it caught the attention of a merchant who offered him work. That work led to greater opportunity, and in time, the man prospered. Later, he said, "It was never the coin that changed my life, it was the joy." Joy turns small into great, little into much, seed into harvest. Now let us speak of creativity. Creativity is the child of joy. When you are joyful, your mind opens, your ideas multiply, solutions appear. Worry constricts, joy expands. Worry closes doors, joy opens them. Many of the world's greatest breakthroughs, inventions, art, discoveries, were not born of fear, but of joy, of play, of curiosity. Abundance flows through those who live in creative joy. So here is the law: joy is not optional. Joy is strategy. Joy is abundance in motion. But joy, like faith, is a practice. At first, the world resists. Doubt whispers, "You have no reason to rejoice." Yet when you rejoice anyway, you break the illusion. You show life that you trust it, and life responds in kind. Now, let us seal this chapter with a sacred practice. Tomorrow, set aside one moment for deliberate joy. Choose something that delights you: a song, a walk, a meal, a conversation. As you engage, whisper inwardly, "This is abundance. This is overflow." Let the joy fill you. Notice how your body relaxes, your mind opens, your spirit brightens. This simple act tunes you to the frequency of abundance. And tonight, before you sleep, recall 3 moments of joy from your past. No matter how small, relive them vividly. Smile as if they are happening again. Whisper, Joy is my wealth. Abundance follows joy. Repeat until sleep embraces you. For the truth is eternal. Joy is the open door. When you choose it, abundance cannot help but enter. Chapter 15. There is a frequency even higher than gratitude, even deeper than joy, even stronger than faith. It is love. Love is the crown of abundance, the purest expression of supply, the current that binds all creation together. When you walk in love, lack becomes impossible, for love itself is abundance overflowing. Think of it. What is scarcity but the illusion of separation? And what is love but the recognition of oneness? Where there is love, there can be no division, no fear, no hoarding. Love gives freely, because it knows giving does not diminish. Love receives humbly, because it knows reception is as holy as offering. Love multiplies, because love is source in motion. The universe itself is sustained by love. The stars burn for billions of years, not because they are forced, but because their very nature is to shine. The earth provides fruit, water, oxygen, not by command, but by love's endless circulation. You are not an intruder in this system, you are part of it, and when you align with love, you align with the deepest law of abundance. There was once a man who hoarded his wealth. He had more than enough, but he lived in fear of losing it. His neighbors avoided him, his friends abandoned him, and though he was rich by measure, he was impoverished in spirit. Then, one day, he fell ill. A woman from the village who had little herself brought him food, sat by his bed, and cared for him. Something in him cracked open. He realized that true wealth was not in the gold he hoarded, but in the love she gave freely. He began to share, to help, to give. And in giving, he discovered joy, peace, and friendships he had never known. His wealth remained, but it was love that finally made him abundant. This parable teaches, wealth without love is poverty. Love without wealth is still abundance. But you may ask, what does love have to do with money, with prosperity, with material abundance? Everything. For the state of your heart determines the flow of your life. If you hold bitterness, resentment, fear, you block the current. If you open to love, you become a vessel of overflow. Money, opportunities, relationships, they all flow more easily to a heart that radiates love. Consider the magnet. It draws not by force, but by natural attraction. Love is the great magnet of the soul. When you love, you radiate a field that draws provision, people, and possibilities. When you withhold love, you repel them. Let me share a modern story. A woman worked in a company where promotions seemed elusive. Many competed, criticized, and stepped on each other to climb. She chose a different way. She treated her colleagues with kindness, supported their ideas, celebrated their successes. At first, she was overlooked, but over time her presence became magnetic. People trusted her, clients sought her, and leadership recognized her. She was promoted not because she fought, but because love lifted her higher than competition ever could. Later she said, "Love was my secret strategy. It made me rich in spirit first, and then in form." Love does not only open doors, it sustains them. You can achieve by fear, but you cannot keep what fear wins. Only love creates lasting abundance. But here lies the challenge. Love is often misunderstood. Many think love is weakness, surrender, naivety. In truth, love is the highest power. It forgives not because it is blind, but because it sees clearly that resentment poisons the vessel. It gives not because it is foolish, but because it knows giving multiplies. It trusts not because it ignores reality, but because it understands reality begins in the unseen. Love is strength, not weakness. And when it becomes your foundation, abundance has no choice but to surround you. Now let us look at your life. Ask yourself, where am I withholding love? Where do I cling to resentment, envy, fear? Each place you withhold is a place where the river of abundance is dammed. And each place you forgive, release, and love is a place where the river flows freely again. There was once a family torn apart by conflict over inheritance. Brothers fought, sisters grew bitter, years of love dissolved in greed. One day, the youngest sibling, who inherited the least, decided to release the anger. She reached out, extended peace, gave more than she was asked. Her siblings mocked her, but slowly her energy shifted. She built her own business, prospered beyond them all, and eventually reconciled the family. Later she said, "The wealth was never in the inheritance. It was in the love I chose." Do you see? Love is not sentimental. Love is creative power. But how do you practice love when wounded, when betrayed, when scarcity has hardened your heart? Begin where you are. Start small. Bless the one who wronged you, not for their sake, but for yours. Release the bitterness, for it binds you to lack. Choose to see with compassion. This does not mean tolerating abuse or remaining in harm. It means refusing to let resentment block your river. Love also means loving yourself. Many chase abundance outwardly while despising themselves inwardly. They call themselves unworthy, unlovable, undeserving. And life, faithful as ever, reflects that verdict. But when you choose to love yourself, to see yourself as worthy, radiant, chosen, abundance mirrors that recognition. There was once a young man who sabotaged every opportunity because inwardly he believed, "I am not enough." One day he began standing before a mirror each morning saying, "I love myself. I am worthy. I am enough." At first he wept with disbelief, but slowly the words sank deeper. His energy changed. He walked taller, spoke clearer, believed more, and soon opportunities found him. He discovered what had always been true. The world could not love him until he loved himself. Love yourself, love others, love life. This is the triad of abundance. Now let us seal this with a sacred practice. Tonight, close your eyes. Place both hands upon your heart. Whisper, "I love, I am loved, I am abundance." Say it slowly 3 times, then bring to mind someone you struggle to forgive. Imagine them surrounded by light. Whisper, "I release you, I free you, I free myself." Feel the weight lift. Finally, picture yourself surrounded by golden light, smiling, radiant, whole. Whisper, "I am worthy, I am chosen, I am love." Sleep in this vibration. For love is the crown frequency, and where love flows, abundance overflows. Conclusion. The eternal secret. You have walked far. From the river that flows within you to the banquet already spread, from the bridge of imagination to the crown of love, you have journeyed through the hidden chambers of abundance. And now, here at the threshold of completion, you must realize nothing was added to you. Everything revealed was already yours. The great secret is this: abundance is not something you chase, earn, or stumble upon. Abundance is what you are. The scarcity that haunted you was only a shadow cast by forgetfulness. The poverty you feared was only a story etched into your mind by a world that has forgotten its own divinity. The struggle you endured was not punishment, but invitation. To remember, to awaken, to claim. Close your eyes now and breathe. Can you feel it? The river beneath your chest, flowing still. The eternal flame in the temple of your heart, burning still. The frequency of joy, humming still. The magnet of love, glowing still. You did not create these things. You remembered them, and remembrance is awakening. This is why the sages spoke in riddles that were never riddles at all. The kingdom is within you. As within, so without. According to your faith, be it unto you. They were not mysteries for the chosen few. They were invitations to every soul, whispering, "Turn inward, and you will find what you seek. For the banquet is set, the seat is yours. The only question was ever, will you sit?" Let me remind you of the path we walked. We began at the river, the infinite current of supply that flows not outside you, but through you. You saw that lack is but a blindfold, and recognition removes it. You learned that attention is treasure, that wherever you rest your gaze, life multiplies. That imagination is the bridge, faith the foundation, gratitude the tuning, joy the magnet, love the crown. That identity itself is the soil in which all harvests grow. That circulation, not hoarding, is the rhythm of the universe. That peace is wealth, focus is creation, forgiveness is release, and trust is freedom. We have told parables of merchants and farmers, widows and kings, artists and children, all pointing to the same truth. What you believe yourself to be, you become. What you magnify, multiplies. What you circulate, returns. What you love, expands. And now, as we draw this book to its close, I must ask you one final question. Will you live as if abundance is real? Not tomorrow, not one day, but now. Will you walk as though the river flows through your veins? Will you speak as though the banquet is already spread? Will you breathe as though supply fills the very air around you? Will you choose peace where you once chose worry, gratitude where you once chose complaint, love where you once chose fear? For nothing changes until you decide. Do not wait for evidence. Evidence follows assumption. Do not wait for conditions. Conditions follow identity. Do not wait for permission. You are the permission. You are the script. You are the creator. Life is waiting for you to declare, "I am abundance. I am wealth. I am supplied. I am worthy." And when you declare it, not in words alone, but in conviction, the mirror of reality will rise to reflect it back to you. This is the eternal secret. The universe is not against you. The universe is you, and you are infinite supply. Pause now. Let this sink deep. You will not return to scarcity, not after this. For the veil has lifted, the blindfold has fallen. You cannot unsee what has been revealed. You will never again look at life as a beggar at the table. You will sit as the honored guest you have always been. And when fear whispers, as it will, you will smile. When doubt rises, you will breathe. When shadows creep, you will light the flame again. For now you know, nothing real can be taken, nothing eternal can be lost, nothing abundant can ever run dry. Walk now as one awakened. Walk as the river, as the orchard, as the banquet, as the flame. Walk as the magnet of love, the vessel of joy, the song of peace. Walk as the abundant one you have always been. And as you walk, remember this: Every act of recognition is a seed. Every moment of gratitude is water. Every breath of faith is sunlight. Together, they will grow orchards beyond what you can imagine. You will become a source for others, a reminder to those still blindfolded, a living parable of abundance. For this is not just for you, it is for the world. Your light awakens light. Your supply inspires supply. Your remembrance calls others to remember. The river of abundance flows not only through you, it flows as you. You are not separate. You never were. Now rise. Step into the day, into the week, into the years ahead with certainty. Speak the words as law. I am abundance. I am supply. I am overflow. And watch as life, faithful and infinite, bows to your recognition. If this journey stirred something in you, I invite you to keep the circle alive. Like this video if it resonated with your heart. Leave a comment sharing your journey, your recognition of abundance, your experiences along the path. And subscribe, not as a number, but as one who chooses to walk further into light, so that together we may continue unfolding the sacred teachings the world has forgotten. You are abundance. You always have been. And now you remember.